approaches that work are a nutritionally adequate diet, because these cell walls, these cells need the different nutrients that build them. Then probiotics can help, which in places like Germany, in Eastern Europe, they were culturing foods for a long time. People were aware of that. In Korea, in Romania, people have used cultured foods. Some parts of the world it's rather new, but these probiotics, the bacteria that grow, and in many of the cultured soy products now, they have live bacteria. Those can be helpful to rebuild our healthy bacteria. The prebiotics, that word means what feeds the probiotics. And the very best things are the different fruits and vegetables and grains, these whole foods. They feed the beneficial bacteria the best. Then there are items like glutamine, sold in health food stores, quercetin, zinc. We can get this like from apple peels. We get zinc from cashews, from lentils, from legumes, beans, peas, from whole grains. So you can be buying specific supplements like that, but actually the whole pattern of the diet is what provides the nutrients that you need for healing. And that can be a much more economical way to do it, and also you get a lot of protective phytochemicals as well. Am I speaking clearly enough for people? Okay, thank you. Okay, so anybody said no? The testing for, if you want to heal the intestine, the first thing you can do is go to a doctor like a naturopath and test for intestinal permeability. And they do something, there's a number of different tests, but where they feed one type of sugar, lactulose mannitol test, where there's one type of sugar that you're normally supposed to have that can leak through and one that shouldn't. And then they see whether your gut was essentially leaky, it was a leaky gut. Then you can heal the intestinal wall if you find you've got leaky gut or permeability, and then restore with probiotics. That will be helpful. And or you can use a powder. Now here was one of the things that was most interesting to me in writing this book. Our books that we write are always quite a journey. It's very fun and interesting because we learn so much about the really recent research. But in my family, there's a lot of arthritis. I was just with my sister in Munich, and she's a stunt woman, and so of course she's always been falling on everything. She was Annie Oakley in Paris Disney World, and we were just a place where they were doing some stunts near Munich. But anyway, she had arthritis all in our family, and we find that a lot of arthritis is affected by foods we eat. But this has not been really clear. I'm going to talk a little bit more about arthritis. And so I've been very interested in that. Asthma, well, we've long known that asthma was connected with food. If you have children that are asthmatic, and they can often be allergic to certain foods. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or hyperactive children, that one again has been linked to foods. And Candida, we knew that one. Dermatitis, we've known for long. But depression, I've known people who had lifelong depressions and then figured out that the problems were gluten-containing grains. Not that it's the same food for everyone, but it's just fascinating to suddenly find out that this huge problem that kept your life so limited for a very long time was actually food-related. Digestive disorders, we mentioned. Lactose intolerance, very, very common condition in the world. But fatigue, migraines, and other types of headaches. So some of these are quite common. Now, I don't say that always arthritis or headaches or depression can be solved by finding a food allergen and then removing it. But for some people, That is the trigger. So part of this is a bit of a detective story to find out whether that is the case. Arthritis. I wanted to know why the arthritis societies are not more aware of the research that's been done, and that some people in society who may be very, very crippled and handicapped, why they're not more knowledgeable about diet and arthritis. But what I found is that it's only for some individuals, and some of the Scandinavians have been the real pioneers about arthritis and food and diet. And so for some individuals, avoiding specific foods will decrease symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and osteoarthritis. For some, but not all. Then also an adequate diet like omega-3s, vitamin D, can improve conditions. So that can be an important factor. And by the way, we've got more on this in our books. Like if you come and look at it after, there's certain sections for these conditions. And also weight management, of course, because you're putting a lot of weight on joints that are having problems. So these are all areas about diet. But why is this food arthritis link often ignored? And this is a somewhat similar case for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, for schizophrenia. I find it for many areas where we're just starting to see, hey, for some people there is really a link. First of all, there are many forms and causes. This is a multi-cause condition. There's many factors impinging. Another area, and this is a really big one, the trigger food varies from one person to another. I'll just move a little bit aside because I didn't have a section for this, but with hyperactivity, there have been studies in Britain with children, and they removed all the major allergens, just kept close to 100 children on a diet, like a few foods diet. Well, you can imagine, that kind of study is hard to do. I mean, you have to keep your kid in a box just about, to get them to avoid all kinds of foods. And they did it for quite a significant length of time, for months. They had families actually control the diet significantly. And then they found that hyperactive behaviors diminished. And then they started to introduce foods. Well, it wasn't the same food for every child. It was dairy for one, it was wheat for another, it was sugar for another, it was 2 or 3 foods for another. And so this complicates it a lot. You can't just take out dairy and all the children get better. I mean, even then only a certain percentage are improved. So with arthritis, again, the trigger food varies. And the big ones there seem to be meat for some people, dairy for some, wheat, the nightshade vegetables. Do you know which those are? Anybody? Tomatoes, eggplant, potatoes, and red peppers. Yeah. And tobacco's in that family too, so being exposed to tobacco. So those things for some people are big arthritis triggers. And the other area is citrus for some. So we could not remove one of those foods or kind of food groups like the nightshades and then have everybody get better. And if you're wanting to explore, you can see that there's a number of things to look at. Then also, the reactions are delayed. Like if it's an arthritis reaction, you eat something, you go into lunch there, you're eating a lot of things all at once. And then the reaction to something wouldn't happen for hours or days. So it takes quite a while. And this has meant that research is very complicated, more complicated than a lot of researchers want to do. But if it's your condition, you can do the research yourself and find out. The degree of reaction is also affected by lifestyle and environment. I brought up that example of myself and teaching university and being such a perfectionist and how that had an extra impact. By the way,